buying your dream home can become your worst nightmare. And I'm about to tell you exactly how I turned a $500,000 house into a financial prison that almost destroyed my marriage, my health, and every shred of security I'd spent a decade building. My name is Marcus, and this is the story of the biggest mistake I ever made. You're about to hear a true financial story that many would rather hide, but in sharing it, we uncover the patterns, the traps, and the brutal lessons that others can learn from, maybe even you. This is Money Mistake Files, where we take real-life money mistakes and turn them into raw, honest stories that might just save you from the same fate. So settle in, take a breath, and listen closely, because sometimes the best advice comes from someone else's pain. Let me take you back to where this all started, because every financial disaster begins with something that feels like hope. It was February 2019. I was 34 years old, working as a senior software engineer in Austin, Texas, pulling in about $145,000 a year. My wife, Jennifer, was a nurse, making around $72,000. Combined household income of $217,000. On paper, we were doing really well. We'd been married for 6 years, living in a decent 2-bedroom apartment that cost us $1,800 a month. It was fine, comfortable. But every time we'd visit Jennifer's sister, who lived in this gorgeous 4-bedroom house with a backyard and a 3-car garage, I could see something shift in Jennifer's eyes. She never said it directly, but I felt it. We were in our mid-30s, established in our careers, and still renting, still living like we were just starting out. One Sunday morning, Jennifer was scrolling through real estate listings on her phone. She turned the screen toward me, and there it was, a brand new construction home in a development called Willow Creek Estates. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 3,200 square feet. Open concept kitchen with quartz countertops and stainless steel appliances. Master suite with a walk-in closet bigger than our current bedroom. The photos looked like something out of a magazine. "Just look at it," she said, her voice soft but excited. "I know we're not ready yet, but one day, right?" I looked at the price. $489,000. My first thought was, that's a lot of money. But my second thought, and this is where it all went wrong, was we make over $200,000 a year. We can afford this. That weekend, we drove out to see the model home. And the moment we walked through those doors, I felt it too. That pull, that sense of, we've made it. We deserve this. The sales agent, a woman named Kelly with perfectly white teeth and a blazer that probably cost more than my monthly rent, greeted us like we were already homeowners. "You two are going to love it here," she said, walking us through room after room. Willow Creek is one of the fastest growing communities in Austin. Great schools, low crime, amazing amenities. And these homes, they're selling fast. We only have 3 lots left in phase 2. Jennifer squeezed my hand. I could feel her hope radiating through her palm. Kelly took us to the design center. Rows and rows of flooring samples, cabinet finishes, light fixtures, countertop options. She handed us a worksheet to customize our dream home. And here's the thing about dream homes. Once you start customizing, you can't stop. We upgraded the flooring. We upgraded the countertops from standard to quartz. We added recessed lighting, a tiled shower in the master bath, extended the patio, chose premium cabinet hardware. Every upgrade felt small in the moment. $2,000 here, $3,500 there. Kelly smiled every time we checked another box. "Great choice," she'd say. "You're really going to love how this looks." By the end of the appointment, our $489,000 house had become a $534,000 house. But we were still riding that high. We were building our future. We were investing in ourselves. We left the design center holding hands, and Jennifer looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Are we really doing this?" she asked. I kissed her forehead. "We're really doing this." We signed the contract 2 days later. Moving into that house should have been the happiest day of our lives. And for about 6 hours, it was. We walked through every room, our footsteps echoing on the empty floors. We stood in the backyard, Jennifer's head on my shoulder, watching the sunset paint everything gold. "We did it," she whispered. But then, reality set in. Our furniture from the apartment looked ridiculous in the new house. Our little couch, which had fit perfectly in our 900-square-foot living room, looked like doll furniture in the massive great room. We had no dining table, because we'd always eaten at a breakfast bar. No bedroom furniture for the 3 empty bedrooms, no lawnmower for the yard, no curtains for the massive windows. We slept on a mattress on the floor that first night, using our phones as flashlights because we hadn't bought lamps yet. Jennifer tried to stay positive. "We'll figure it out," she said. "We just need time." But time was the one thing we didn't have. That first month, September, we were still paying rent on our old apartment, so between the mortgage, rent, utilities for both places, and moving costs, we burned through $6,800, more than we'd ever spent in a single month in our lives. Therefore, I put $4,000 on a credit card, just to cover groceries, gas, and basic expenses. October was supposed to be better. The apartment lease was up, we were fully moved in, we could focus on getting back to normal. But then the bills started coming. The HOA fee, which I'd somehow overlooked in all the paperwork, was $285 a month. The water bill, for a house with 4 bathrooms and a lawn-to-water, was triple what we'd paid at the apartment. The electric bill, because the house was 3,200 square feet and the Texas heat doesn't quit, was $340 in September alone. And then there were the little things, the things nobody tells you about when you buy a house. The garage door opener broke, $450 to replace. The landscaping, which had looked perfect when we moved in, started dying because we didn't have a sprinkler system and I forgot to water it manually. We had to pay a landscaper $600 to redo the front beds so we wouldn't violate HOA rules. The kitchen sink started leaking, $280 for a plumber. Every week, something new. Every week, another expense I hadn't budgeted for. By November, we'd racked up $11,000 in credit card debt. The minimum payments alone were $340 a month. I started having panic attacks. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. drenched in sweat, mentally calculating how we were going to make it through the next month. Jennifer would find me sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at our bank account on my phone, my hands shaking. "We're going to be okay," she'd say. But I could hear the doubt in her voice, because we both knew we weren't okay. I remember one specific moment in December. We were sitting in our big, beautiful, empty living room eating pizza off paper plates because we still didn't have a dining table. The Christmas tree in the corner was the cheapest one we could find at Home Depot, decorated with ornaments from the dollar store. Jennifer looked around the room and said, quietly, "This isn't what I thought it would be." Neither of us said anything else. We just sat there, surrounded by all this space we couldn't afford to fill, in a house that was supposed to represent success, but instead felt like a prison. January 2020 was when things really started to fall apart. Our credit card debt had climbed to $15,000. The interest alone was eating us alive, almost $300 a month going toward nothing but the privilege of being in debt. Jennifer and I started fighting. Not big, dramatic fights, just tense, exhausted conversations that always circled back to money. "Why did we buy so many upgrades?" she'd ask. "You're the one who said we could afford it," I'd shoot back. "You're the one who said we could afford it." Round and round, blame bouncing between us like a grenade neither of us wanted to hold. Therefore, I picked up even more freelance work. I was working my full-time job from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., then freelancing from 8 p.m. to midnight, sometimes later. Weekends were just more work. I was exhausted, irritable, barely sleeping. My boss pulled me aside one day. "Marcus, you look terrible. Are you okay?" I lied. "Yeah, just haven't been sleeping well." But I wasn't okay. I was drowning. And then, in March 2020, COVID hit. The world shut down, and with it, every freelance contract I had. Overnight, my side income, which had been keeping us barely afloat, disappeared. Jennifer's hospital hours got cut because elective procedures were canceled. She went from full-time to part-time, and our household income dropped by $1,800 a month. I remember sitting at our kitchen island, the one with the expensive quartz countertops, staring at a spreadsheet I'd built to track our expenses. No matter how I rearranged the numbers, they didn't work. Mortgage, $3,200. Utilities, $520. HOA, $285. Credit card minimums, $380. Car payments, $640. Insurance, $420. Groceries and gas, $800. Student loans, $450. Total, $6,695 per month. Our income, with Jennifer's reduced hours, $8,300 after taxes. That left us $1,605 for everything else, which sounds okay until you factor in the constant, unexpected expenses that come with owning a house. In April, the AC unit failed. The repair guy quoted us $1,200 to fix it. We had to put it on a credit card because we had no emergency fund. We'd spent it all on the down payment. In May, we needed new tires for both cars, another $800. In June, the dishwasher stopped working, $650 to replace. Our credit card debt hit $23,000. I started having chest pains. I thought I was having a heart attack. Jennifer drove me to the ER at 2 a.m., both of us terrified. They ran tests, kept me for observation, and eventually told me it was a severe panic attack brought on by stress. The bill was $3,400, even with insurance. I cried in the hospital bed, not because of the pain, but because I didn't know how we'd pay for it. Jennifer held my hand, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Resignation, like she'd accepted that this was our life now, survival mode, forever. By August 2020, we were $28,000 in credit card debt, behind on 3 bills, and borrowing money from both sets of parents just to make the mortgage payment. The house that was supposed to be our dream had become a financial prison. And we couldn't even sell it because the market had tanked during COVID and we'd be underwater on the mortgage. We were trapped.
September 2020. 1 year after we'd closed on the house. I was sitting in my parked car outside the bank, hands trembling on the steering wheel. The AC was blasting, but sweat dripped down my back. I was there to ask about a home equity line of credit, essentially borrowing against the house to pay off the credit cards. The banker, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked at my application and then looked at me. "Marcus, I'm going to be honest with you. Based on what I'm seeing here, I don't think a HELOC is a good idea." "Why not?" I asked, even though I knew. "Because you're already stretched too thin. Adding more debt isn't going to solve your problem. It's just going to delay it." She slid the papers back across the desk. "Have you considered selling the house?" The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Selling the house meant admitting failure. It meant telling our families, our friends, everyone who'd congratulated us on becoming homeowners that we couldn't handle it, that we'd made a massive mistake. I drove home in silence, the question circling in my head. How did we get here? That night, Jennifer and I had the hardest conversation of our marriage. We sat at that kitchen island, the one I'd been so proud of, and I laid out everything. The debt, the stress, the fact that I was barely sleeping, barely eating, constantly anxious, the fact that our marriage was suffering because all we did was worry about money. Jennifer cried. "I feel like this is all my fault," she said. "I'm the one who wanted the house." "No," I said, "I wanted it too. We both made this decision." "But what do we do now?" I took a breath. "I think we need to sell it." She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "Really?" "I don't see another way out." We sat there in silence for a long time, mourning the future we'd thought we'd have, the kids we'd imagined raising in those empty bedrooms, the holidays we'd pictured hosting, all of it slipping away. But underneath the grief, there was something else. Relief. Because we'd finally said it out loud. We'd finally admitted that the dream had become a nightmare.
We listed the house in October 2020. The market was still shaky from COVID, but Austin's real estate was starting to bounce back. A realtor, a no-nonsense woman named Patricia, looked at the property and gave it to us straight. You're probably going to break even, maybe make $10,000 to $15,000 after closing costs and realtor fees, but given what you're going through, that's a win. We priced it at $529,000, about $5,000 less than we'd paid after upgrades, but enough to cover what we owed and get out. It sold in 3 weeks. The buyers were a young couple, probably around the same age we'd been when we bought it. I watched them walk through during the inspection, eyes wide with excitement, and I wanted to warn them. I wanted to say, be careful. Make sure you can actually afford this. Make sure you're not just chasing a dream. But I didn't, because they wouldn't have listened, just like I wouldn't have. We closed in November 2020. After everything was said and done, paying off the mortgage, paying the realtor, paying closing costs, we walked away with $11,000. $11,000 for a year of hell. We used it to pay down some of the credit card debt and moved into a small 3-bedroom rental house for $1,950 a month. It wasn't fancy. It didn't have quartz countertops or a 3-car garage or soaring ceilings. But we could afford it, and that was everything. Over the next 2 years, we focused on one thing: getting out of debt and rebuilding. Jennifer went back to full-time hours. I kept my freelance work, but at a manageable level. We lived below our means, saved aggressively, and slowly, painfully paid off that $28,000 in credit card debt. By December 2022, we were debt-free except for our car payments and student loans. And you know what? We were happier than we'd ever been in that big, beautiful house.
So what's the lesson here? Because this isn't just a story about buying a house you can't afford. It's deeper than that. The lesson is this: just because you can get approved for something doesn't mean you can afford it. The bank approved us for up to $600,000, but the bank doesn't care if you're stressed, if you're fighting with your spouse, if you're having panic attacks at 3 a.m. The bank just cares that you make the payment. Here's what I wish I'd known before we bought that house. 1. The 28-36 rule. Your housing costs shouldn't exceed 28% of your gross monthly income, and your total debt shouldn't exceed 36%. We were at 40% housing costs alone. We were overextended from day one. 2. The down payment is just the beginning. You need an emergency fund after you buy the house. We spent everything we had on the down payment and closing costs, leaving us with nothing when things went wrong. And things always go wrong. 3. Factor in the invisible costs: HOA fees, higher utilities, maintenance, repairs, landscaping, furnishing. We focused so much on whether we could afford the mortgage that we ignored everything else. 4. Don't let your ego make financial decisions. Part of why we bought that house was because we felt like we should. We were in our 30s, making good money and still renting. We felt behind. But chasing status nearly destroyed us. 5. It's okay to walk away. Selling that house felt like failure at the time, but looking back, it was the smartest financial decision we ever made. Sometimes cutting your losses is the bravest thing you can do. Jennifer and I still talk about getting a house again someday, but this time we'll do it differently. We'll make sure we can truly afford it, not just the mortgage, but everything that comes with it. Because your dream home should feel like freedom, not a prison. If this story made you think twice about a financial decision you're considering, hit that subscribe button. Because we're sharing real stories like mine. Stories about money, mistakes, and the hard lessons that come with them. These aren't just cautionary tales, they're survival guides. The next story might save you from making a decision that changes your life in ways you can't undo. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's make sure you learn from our pain, not your own. I'll see you in the next one.